just take a moment to talk about our two seniors here, Kyle Young and CJ Walker. Those are two guys that represent everything about this program that we want our guys to represent. They're tremendous people, terrific competitors, and have really led this team in really a unique season. Led it in a really special way. Kyle's going to be one of, I think he's going to be the 12th player, either the 11th or 12th player to qualify for 4 NCAA tournaments, if you include last year's tournament in the history of the program. So he would, I believe, be the 12th player to do that in the history of our program, which is a significant accomplishment for him. His production's increased every year, now working on his master's degree. CJ Walker has been, really about winning his entire career. He as well, with 2 schools, will have played in or qualified for every NCAA tournament. Has led us in assists both years, top 2 in steals both years. Both guys have battled through some adversity with injuries in a really special way. So, we love those guys, and CJ will move on and professionalize. As many of people know, he's got a young daughter, and we're fully supportive of that. Kyle obviously will have the opportunity to return. But I think he'll make a decision after the season regarding professionalizing or returning here for that year that's provided due to COVID. So really appreciate them. Obviously, we've got some senior managers as well that are going to be recognized in what will be a really unique senior day.
Okay, we'll start off with Adam Jardy.
Hey, Chris, and you talk about this being a unique senior day. Logistically, what's it going to be like? I mean, I assume like moms probably can't walk out on the court with their kids. You probably can't give them flowers, and maybe guys can still give speeches after the game. Like logistically, what is it going to look like tomorrow?
Yeah, I think the plan right now is to keep it as consistent as possible, as consistent as we can, Adam. As you mentioned, we've liked the idea that we started a couple years ago of having the seniors, win or lose, give a senior day speech to, those fans that would like to stick around and listen. In this case, it's just going to be families. I do think we'll continue to do that. We'll do that at least tomorrow. We'll continue to do that, but we'll certainly do it tomorrow. You're right. They're not going to be able to get hugs, or we're not going to be able to give corsages to the moms and, flowers, and we're not going to be able to do that, unfortunately, but hopefully, we'll be able to do that in the future, but it'll remain as much as the same as possible. We obviously got a terrific team that we're playing, another top 5 team here in this last week and a half of the season. So our focus before the game will be on, trying to stay ready for that.
What in this last week here, what has been the primary challenge in practice? What have you been trying with a little bit of time to work with guys in between games? What has this last week been like?
We've just tried to give them some rest, because we've needed that. Tried to get some guys a little more rest without, getting rusty or taking a step back in any way. So I think that's been the challenge. Obviously, we've needed to improve in some areas. We need to play better in some areas. So we've tried to focus on that. But we just tried to focus on us as much as possible. And part of that is, you're somewhat limited right now with the number of guys that can't consistently practice. But that's part of this week here. This has been the only bye week we've had. And it's unique that it falls in the last week of the season. But it's good to have a couple of guys that can take some time off.
Okay, we'll go with Brendan Gulick.
Hey, Chris, why don't we start maybe on the Illinois side? I'm just curious what you've seen from them lately as you've
really deep, talented, physical, really tough, play exceptionally hard. We knew coming into the season that they were going to be a team that has they're a legit national title contender, and I think everybody kind of anticipated that in the season with Io and Kofi returning, and then really good players around them. So guys have really stepped up in Io's absence, but big, physical, play really hard, a well-coached team.
at the beginning of the season, and I'm knocking on wood here for you. I know it's a superstitious thing, but at the beginning of the season, you had mentioned to us that you would be surprised if the entire 26-game schedule got played, just given the daunting challenge in front of you. Perhaps you could make a comment here on how it's been a successful season, not just in the fact that you've already won 18 games and you've obviously been one of the best teams in the country, but the fact that your team has stayed healthy and followed certain protocols and you've played a full schedule.
Yeah, no question, Brendan. I think that has been that's definitely a part of a successful season. And I did not think we would be playing 25 out of 26. I thought we would have more interruptions, and let's hope and pray that we don't have interruptions heading into this closing stretch. But Brendan, it has been a really a credit to our guys, and I think I forget sometimes we're talking about as a staff that it is, for every college player, it can be a challenge because of, again, the isolation, because the things that they enjoy doing in college, they have not been able to necessarily do or see their family. So I just think our group deserves a lot of credit for that, as do, any team right now that's went through a season that's had very few, if any, interruptions. Some of that is probably good fortune, a little bit of luck, but there's also an element of, guys really, taking care of business.
Okay, Patrick Murphy.
Chris, I don't want to single one guy out that you've had play for you or anything, but Kyle was a guy who was committed to you at Butler, made the move here after your staff did, and obviously has accomplished a lot as a player. Just what has he meant for you, getting to know him as a high school player and through everything he's gone through?
Well, he's meant so much for our program. I can't overstate how meaningful he as a person and as a player, what he's meant to our program. And I hope his time's not finished, but I'll support him either way. I will definitely support him either way. He just has been a phenomenal competitor. He's dealt with some really challenging things with some injuries that I think we've managed a little bit better this year outside of, his concussion that was obviously outside of our control. But he just is one of those guys that, everything you think about and you talk about it in terms of, playing for the team on the front of your jersey and really embracing this opportunity to play at Ohio State. It really matters to him, and it just does. And I think that has been evident for anybody who's watched him in these 4 years, and he's gotten better every year. He's a better player now than he was last year, and I think that's a really good thing. And I do think his competitiveness, his energy, his athleticism, his motor, this team misses that when he's out more than any team I've been on, more than any team I've coached. It's apparent. We didn't, we were rolling last year. Part of it, when he was out, we didn't miss it as much. I just think we had other guys that provided some of what he provided. This team doesn't have that as much. And we do miss it when he's not his normal self.
And slightly different topic, but the guys yesterday talked about the chance to play in front of a bigger crowd when they get to the Big Ten tournament? And I know you still have a game to play before you think about that, but just having more people in a gym when you guys do go to Indy, I mean, what kind of difference can that make for any game, but specifically you guys?
It's going to be different. Yeah, it'll be different not having done it the whole year. I've watched some games from, the SEC or the Big 12 where you see some of that with fans, and it does bring a different energy. I don't know necessarily, Patrick, what it means one way or the other. It could favor some of those teams that are real locally, kind of locally there in or around Indy, but it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for college basketball.
Okay, we'll go with Tim Hall.
Hey, Chris, I know a lot of what you were trying to decipher through the last few games is how much of it was the difficulty of the schedule, maybe some things that you need to clean up. Just knowing that you have one more here against Illinois, and they're on another planet right now with how they've been playing. What goes through your head when you're going into a game like this?
I think you're trying to balance, Tim, what areas that you need to do better, not making excuses for areas that you've not played or performed well in, and yet also recognizing the stretch here is unlike anything I've ever been a part of. I've not been part of anything even close to a closing stretch like this. So I think you're trying to own areas that I have to coach better, and we've got to play better. And also trying to have some perspective as well. But, unbalanced schedules are a part of this 20-game schedule. So you end up playing some teams more than others. And it just so happens that the top of our league, with the exception of one team, we played twice. And it just so happens that where the calendar fell, it came here at the end. Hopefully we're tough enough to manage it, identify some areas where we're getting exposed, be better, and prepare us here without it, kicking us in the teeth too much.
I'm also just wondering real quick, with the tournaments coming up, after this game, every single game you can play is going to be in the state of Indiana. And with that place just being a big part of your journey, being a college player, and with Butler, just have you had time to think about just how wild, how unique this is going to be, knowing that we will have these tournaments, which is great?
Yeah, I love the fact that it's there. I love the fact that it's in one location. Obviously, I really enjoyed my time there and love that city. But I'm an Ohio boy now. I love it here and love being here. And it'll be nice to kind of be there. Who knows where we'll play, right, Tim? I don't know if it's going to be what venue it's going to be, but it's good that it's in one place, and a place that I think like this state, appreciates good basketball. And obviously that's a state that does that.
Okay, Bruce Hooley.
Chris, it's been a while since you played them, so I wonder how much, when you beat a team, how much do you expect them to take away what you did the first time that worked, or because it worked, you hesitant to go away from it?
Yeah. It's adjustments after you won at their place. How much do you adjust given the fact that there was some success in some areas? It's a good question, and one that I think you always, as coaches, try to figure out. How much do you tweak and change, knowing they're going to make adjustments based on how we played them? There's always an element of surprise the first time you play a team, and then it comes down to the adjustments they make and who plays better on that given night. And I think for us, we'll see. We'll see. We've obviously talked about making some adjustments. We didn't defend them great. It also wasn't one of our worst defensive performances. It was a high-scoring game. I think we can't expect for us to shoot it at that clip that we did and win the game. So I think we are going to have to be better than what we were defensively. And some of that hopefully includes some adjustments.
That first game came kind of amid a good period of time for Justin. Lately, I think teams at Piers have made more of a concerted effort to stay closer to him and take him away, which it seems like that is possible for a team to do if they're super committed to it. And then you have to make the decision as to whether the attention he occupies is worth having him out there, maybe with him not scoring, but helping other people score because he does occupy somebody. What can you do to help him kind of bridge that gap between being just a decoy and being somebody who contributes?
Yeah, we've looked at some things. We have to look at some things where we can try to free him up, get bodies off him a little bit. He's got to hunt shots in transition a little bit more, the good ones that are there. So I think it's a combination of things. But, I think, when you're playing teams a second or third time, or you've built a reputation, it's a combination of things. I do think there are times where, as I've said, he's just going to have to be okay with, and he is, with the fact that, he's basically in some ways creating a 4-on-4 opportunity in the half court at times. I think that's a real credit to him, but we've got to look at some things, ways in which we can help him too.
Thank you.
Okay, Spencer Holbrook.
Chris, you've kind of built an entire culture on taking things one game at a time and just worrying about what's directly in front of you. But how do you balance that aspect of what you preach every day with the fact that this game carries a little bit of extra weight when it comes to Big Ten tournament seeding and potential NCAA tournament seedings? Is there a level of balance that you have to strike with the guys?
Yeah, I think you're always trying to strike that balance, and I'm not sure that I did as good a job here in the last, maybe couple weeks. You want to emphasize games, the importance of games, the importance of all that. The reality is the day-to-day, the moment you're in, the commitment to getting better really is most important. I think that has to continue to be our focus. Our guys aren't, they're not unaware. They understand everything, and they understand it's senior day and all that goes in that. And we know we're going to get a tremendous performance from Illinois. Not only the fact that they're playing well, but having been having beat them. We're one of few teams that have beat them. So we're going to get a tremendous performance from them. We're going to have to play, I believe, as well as we played all year. I think our guys are aware of that, but our focus really this week has been trying to get better.
And then I know you absolutely hate these kind of questions, but you were named one of the finalists for the Coach of the Year. Do you have any sort of comment on that?
I mean, looks like they did their voting before last week.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, Colin.
Chris, how would you define sort of where your confidence or concern level is just in specifically the offense when you're coming off last game?
Say that again, Colin. I'm sorry.
How would you define where your confidence or concern level is with where you are as an offensive team right now at the end of the season?
I think when, we're not probably as normally to be expected. We're not quite as confident maybe as what we've been. We've got to do a good job as coaches to get back in a rhythm and to help them see their opportunities and play with. I thought we were in the Iowa game, we were too careless, too sloppy offensively, and the ball didn't move quite as well. And then we missed some open shots too, but you got to give Iowa credit too for that. But I think the Michigan State game, it was just hard to get much of anything going offensively. So I'm interested to see how we respond.
And then just looking specifically at Kofi, I know that I think after the first game, you had mentioned just the need for him to see bodies and see arms and have guys flying at him. What are the keys to limiting him when he's getting a second shot at you guys?
Yeah, he's so good at catching deep and catching and pivoting without the use of a dribble. And he's so big that if you play behind him, he can turn and score. If you front him, they can throw over the top. And they are really disciplined in getting him the ball. He is a physical. He's as much of a physical, kind of specimen that I've in terms of his physicality, his body composition. In terms of it looks like it's all muscle. He's as physical as anybody I've ever coached against, and he also plays in a physical way. So I think you just have to be ready for the kind of battle that's going to be night in, night out.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go back to Adam Jardy.
Chris, a moment ago, you were saying you need to get back to emphasizing the importance of games and the day-to-day. And you said, I'm not sure I did as good a job of that in the last couple of weeks. Did you feel like you took your eye off the ball a little bit as far as like the task right in front of you? I was a little confused by what you said.
I think maybe I I don't know. I just reflecting back this past week that we put too much emphasis on, I don't know. I just think I think the element of every day coming in and improving and getting better and understanding you're playing in the best league in the country. And that we wanted to talk big picture, but maybe in some ways there was too much conversation about big pictures was my thought. And if so, that's on me.
And with this Illinois team, we don't really know if Io's going to play or not. And, I think everyone assumes they're not as good without him, and they go and do what they did at Michigan without him. How do you prepare without knowing if he's going to play against you, and how are you guys health-wise?
We're health-wise, we're better. We're not where you'd love to be, but most teams aren't at this point. I think every team or a lot of teams, and there are some teams that have had very healthy seasons that have had the fortune of that, but between, a few guys just not feeling themselves, and obviously Kyle's still recovering. But I think our guys are better than what they were, and that's the encouraging thing. They're better physically than what they were, a week ago.
Okay, Steve Hellwagen. Steve?
Some pretty automatic first team picks, maybe 3 or 4 of them. Where does your guy EJ Liddell fit into that? Looks like he'd be in that 5, 6, 7 category if we were ranking guys in this league. What's your stump speech that say he deserves to be in the top 5 first team pick this year?
I believe he's a first team all league performer, and I believe he's earned that. I really do. And I believe Dwayne has earned, serious consideration. Obviously, we'd like to finish well and give ourselves a chance. But when you look at our schedule, who we've played in the league twice, and just our overall schedule, I believe that those guys, I believe just what I said. I believe EJ is deserving of that. I really do. And I believe Dwayne deserves serious consideration. And we've made that evident in everything that we can do. I think that both guys have improved tremendously, but they also both need to play better on both ends. And they both understand that. For us to be good, we need a lot out of them. But I'm a big believer in both of those guys, and hopefully we can play well and give them, I would love nothing more than give them the opportunity for that. But as you mentioned, Steve, when you have a league of this number of teams and this number of really, really good players, I'm sure there are other coaches that could make stump speeches or arguments just like I am.
Curious, the Big Ten tournament moving to Indiana, is this going to be a situation where the Big Ten teams that are playing in the NCAA tournament go for the Big Ten tournament and stay there for the duration? The travel really hasn't been discussed a whole lot. What do you know about the planning for what the next 2-3 weeks are going to look like in terms of going and coming back, that type thing?
I think, listen, I think that that's been the recommendation, Steve, is that those teams that are NCAA tournament teams, and what do we have, 9 out of 14 or something
Yeah.
right now in the league. So those teams would just stay there. I don't want to say right now that I'm firmly committed if you lose early and we're a 3-hour drive that we're definitely going to stay there. But I think that's been the recommendation from the Big Ten. I think we'll evaluate it on a day-to-day.
Okay, we'll go to Stephen Means.
Coach, just given what you're talking about, the amount of Big Ten teams who are probably tournament bound at this point, and how your guys' schedule has worked out, and especially these last couple of weeks here, do you guys kind of feel like you've already been playing NCAA tournament, Big Ten tournament level basketball? Not necessarily the quality, but just the level of these games and competition you guys have had to play.
I hope so, Stephen. I hope so. I really hope that helps you as you get into this thing. And we all know that, I think, the day, like every round, the first round's a challenge. The second round's a challenge. When we go to the Big Ten tournament, our first game's going to be a heck of a battle. So I think knowing that you come from a league where every game is such a challenge, hopefully it does prepare us for what's coming next. That's what you really hope when you come out of a league this good and league this powerful. And I do think it will prepare our teams, to be their best. But we've also got to perform. That's what we've got to do. But hopefully it helps us.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll wrap it up with Bruce Hooley.
Chris, you've talked about roster composition, and that I would think is going to be more challenging this upcoming off season with guys like CJ, Kyle, who can come back, and that's everywhere. It's going to have people who can come back. Can you discuss the challenges of that? Like, are you guys going to get extra? Is the NCAA going to allow you extra grants, or how do you manage that if you have guys coming in and you've assumed that you have guys leaving, but you may not have guys leaving?
Well, CJ's definitely going to professionalize. He's definitely going to professionalize. Kyle's the one that I think will wait probably a few weeks after the season to decide. So there's one. I haven't, Moose has already also graduated, but he had a redshirt year. I think, Bruce, that'll be something that I think every spring now as a college basketball coach, you're going to have to sit down and kind of I know it's the same to some degree in college football as well. But you're just going to have to sit and evaluate, what kind of movements, whether it's professionalization or whatever, what kind of movement takes place. So I think we'll sit down and evaluate that, but we kind of have you have a general idea going into it, and then you have those conversations after the season. I think the NCAA and the schools have made allowances to allow those guys to return if say a Kyle wanted to return, in terms of roster positions and scholarships and all those things.
An offshoot of that is this dramatic impact that we've seen over the last couple of years of guys being willing to transfer. And when you look at Michigan with 2 guys in particular that they added via transfer, and the immediate impact they can make, and how do you as a coach weigh that versus how do you weigh leaving a spot open for somebody like that who you might get, where you have a high school senior who you can get, but he's not going to offer you the immediate impact of somebody that you might get?
Yeah, I've heard that conversation, and what you hope that the transfer market doesn't do is eliminate a ton of opportunities for high school kids, because I've heard that now that coaches feel so much pressure that they just go ahead and take a transfer and eliminate the opportunity for maybe a high school kid. I do think that will happen. It already has in the last couple of years. But I think for us, you sit back, you evaluate, and keep in mind, those are conversations that we've had now for a couple months as we look at potentially what the roster could be next year. And it's exciting for me to think about potentially what our roster could be next year with who we could return and with our incoming recruits. But, you got to also take stock of, what it will eventually look like, even though there's some real excitement for us on that. But I think at the end of the day, it's different than it was 10 years ago. And that's such a huge part of our job is constantly taking stock of that and seeing what are the needs going to be for teams right now.
Are you reasonably certain, 100% certain, close to 100% that Seth wants to come back for another year?
I'm pretty certain on that. As long as he's healthy, I feel very confident in that.